we're starting to come towards the end of that whole 31 days of Techmas with JayzTwoCents, and I figured what better way to start wrapping things up than with an epic AMD build, something I've done for every generation of Ryzen. Now, if you guys aren't aware, I've actually been using AMD as my work system now for 2 years straight, I guess. I'm actually on Threadripper right now. But I said I wanted to do the ultimate mainstream AMD gaming system when we received the 6800 XT, because with it came this awesome case. I was like, what did they send me? Did they send me a gun? But no, this is, if you guys probably have already seen this, but for those of you that haven't, this is chock full of everything we need to annihilate the competition. So this has got various AMD branded like water blocks. This is obviously our CPU block. We've got stuff here for our GPU, which is obviously what we're going to be using with our 6800 XT. You guys might be wondering why I'm not using 6900 XT. That's because we're still researching why our review and our samples seem to be scoring lower than others did. So we have a replacement card, but I'm not going to tear it apart until we're done with that review. But the 6800 XT and the 6800 are still amazing values in my opinion, way faster than the 2080 Ti. And why am I not going with 30 series? Well, because this is the ultimate AMD build, like I said. So, because we've got this amazing AMD hardware that they've sent us, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, I was using AMD stuff. I mean, check out these fittings. These EK fittings right here. They've got the silver and the black and the red, which looks so good. It is soft tubing, and some people are probably gonna be like, oh man, why are you using soft tubing? That's so dumb. I don't agree. I think the matte tubing like this right here is just gonna give it that more industrial feel. And I've actually never done a build with matte black rubber tubing like this. So I'm curious as to, and I have extras of it. I've already owned tubes like that forever. I've just never actually used them. We've got this small reservoir right here. Not entirely sure if I'm gonna use this one though, if you wanna know the truth, simply because of how small that it is. But it gets us off to a good start. So let's talk about the other, parts. 5950X. This is the top tier CPU from AMD Ryzen. It's a Zen 2 architecture. We've talked about it before. You cannot go any higher than this without going to Threadripper. So I'm probably stepping down in terms of overall CPU performance from where I am now on my, what is that, 3970X? No, 39, I can't remember which one it is. Shoot, I gave Phil the better one because he actually uses the CPUs for more than just gaming. But I digress. This is as high as you can go without going to Threadripper. And knowing my luck, they'll probably announce a Zen 2 Threadripper after I do all this, but that's fine. For our motherboard, we are going to be using the ROG Crosshair 8 Dark Hero. This is just a revision, a newer revision of their Crosshair board. I like it because it's all blacked out. I think it's going to look really good in there. It says Republic of Heroes, or Republic of Gamers, Dark Hero right there. So obviously we'll have our CPU and our water block on there. It is a dual channel 4-slot memory. So we're going to be seeing how this works out. I'm not sure if this Ballistics Max is only rated for Intel. I don't know if it has a DOCP profile. We'll see if this works. If this doesn't end up working in Ryzen like we want, then we'll end up putting in here Vengeance Pro. But these are 4400 megahertz DIMMs at Cas19. So they're not the tightest timings, but they do have very high bandwidth at that 4400 megahertz overall speed there. If those don't work, we'll throw in some Vengeance Pros that I have. And then we've got our Radeon 6800 XT. You guys have seen this. This is just a reference board, nothing special. The reason for that is the block that we have fits the reference board. So although we do have a couple of custom variants of this card, especially the 319 Merc, which clocked much higher than this guy, I'm curious as to how this will do once we get it on water. But we're gonna be taking off this beautiful, in my opinion, this beautiful cooler, with the exception of the red. Although in this build, the red would go really well. And then that'll be my card for gaming there. And then we've got powering it all an RM1000i power supply from Corsair. This is an older power supply we've had for a while. I'm a huge fan of the RM series, especially the RMI series. Took this out of another build. And then one of our sponsors for this is actually Cable Mod. So I went on to Cable Mod and I used their new configurator, which is really cool. You can determine what cables you want, 24 pin, EPS, dual EPS, EPS 8+4, and then you can set up the colors and see them in an extremely lifelike rendering of what the colors are gonna look like. Now, because this is an AMD build, I clearly went with a red and black theme, but I also added a couple of strands of carbon in there to sort of break up the black and the red. I think the red looks really good in here. These are aluminum combs. These are metal. These are not gonna break. You can get these in different colors as well. But the cool thing about the cable mod configurator is the fact that you get a rendering, a very lifelike rendering of what your cable colors will look like. That way you can make an informed decision and make sure that they turn out exactly as you imagined it. Because nothing sucks more than getting the color and it looks a little more pink than red or vice versa. So having the configurator show you what it's gonna look like in its truest form is really nice. So here's the dual 8-pin that's gonna go into our graphics card here. And the nice thing is, because I used the Pro option, which uses a thicker cable, we know we're gonna get plenty of amps and current through these wires. They're also combed together because I said I wanted it's the 8+8 PCIe option. So as you can see, they're not individual cables. Well, they are individual cables, but they're sleeved together. So once you take your card and you plug these in, it's gonna keep things extremely tidy. Look how clean that is. What do you think, Nick?
That looks really good.
Yeah, because they're combed together now, they can't separate out. So super clean. And that red looks really close. They have a blood red and then red.
Oh.
So I was curious, like, dang, do I need blood red or do I need red? Which is gonna go? I think that red is pretty good.
Honestly, it looks good, like air cooled, like as is.
It does, but this is JayzTwoCents. We have to water cool it. I've done a water cooled build in forever and the audience is not letting me forget it. Doing a water cooled build, yep. Nick. So anyway, I chose the links that I wanted to add. I added some extra length because I'm going with a pretty big case here and I'll show you guys that in a sec. Unfortunately, this cooler will be coming off, but the new block does have black and the silver and I think there's some red in there. If not, we added some red. I also got myself the EPS power cable right here, as you can see. This is the second EPS power cable, which is funny because it's actually a 4-pin. This board, I had to look it up online. I'm like, is it an 8-pin plus an 8-pin or an 8-pin plus a 4-pin? So when you go to set up your cables, make sure you reference your motherboard to see what the setup is. So I'm knocking everything over. Crap. We're fine. It was just the CPU. So as you can see right here, this motherboard is an 8-pin plus a 4-pin. So that's why I've got the same color scheme sort of following over here. And let me show you. You guys are curious what this is gonna look like all plugged in. So here's the EPS 8-pin. So this will end up, once I get these trained in there like that. And then you can see I have the black and the carbon on the outside. So you can see once this is plugged in there, there we go. Just too bad. I mean, they probably could have combed these together, but I didn't do it that way. But you can see now it's the same black, carbon, red, red, carbon, black. Yep. So that theme sort of follows all of the cables. You can definitely see all of the AMD-ness of it coming out. So do me a favor, go down in the description below. You guys will find a link to the configurator. And just start playing around. Even if you're not gonna buy cables today, start playing around. Let your creative juices flow and see what you can come up with. They have all sorts of crazy colors, different materials, paracord, flexible mod mesh like this, which is like a sleeving, the plastic sleeving. And you can do it for basically any cable in your system that you can think of. But I'm sure you guys are wondering now, Jay, what case are you gonna use with this? One that I've actually had for a long time and have never taken out of the box until today. Cooler Master Cosmos C700M with addressable RGB lighting. Hello, lighting. I am addressing you. One of the reasons why I chose this case is because I already had it. No, it's because it's got an aluminum exterior, which I think will go very well with the theme. But it's got a very modular internal layout. And I'm sure Cooler Master's like, hey Jay, thanks for doing the video about this case 4 years later, or whatever it was. I don't think it was 4 years, but close. You can adjust the layout however you want, inverted, chimney style, conventional style. You can move the GPU around, have it be vertical, horizontal, upside down, sideways, leaning Tower of Pisa. Sounds normal. It's a much bigger case than I would normally use for something. Here's your durability review. anything you're seeing in terms of packaging, this ain't on Cooler Master. We've had this case for like at least 3 years. We've had this case for a long time, and it's been kicked around and moved around the studio and used as a ladder and stepping stool and all kinds of stuff. So it has not been necessarily
Err more on the side of neglect.
Okay. It's a very pretty case. I really, really like this case. In fact, to give you an idea of how old this case is, this is from when you and I first went to Computex.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years ago, yeah. So I think it's kind of obvious that this is gonna be a 2-part video. I don't plan on it taking longer than 2 parts. Ear jokes here. I think the biggest thing for me is gonna be figuring out how I wanna configure it. Because as you can see right here, here's an example of the layouts. And they show you right there, you know, you've got your conventional, your chimney, your inverted. Because we were inverted. So I don't know which way is going to look best. Because I have a single graphics card and not SLI or anything, which I would normally do to fill a case this big, I want it to look full, if that makes sense. And I might be adding another radiator to this just because I want lots and lots of cooling. There's no, in my opinion, there's no such thing as too much cooling, but there is certainly not enough. Going. Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh. You're supposed to take the back piece off first. No, I know this. I knew this because I've used the predecessor to this case, and I know that this comes off the back. God dang it, Jay. Oh man, Molex, guys. All right, so as you can see right now, it's currently got the GPU mount in here, mounted on this kind of a crooked, and it's got a riser cable, I'm sure, somewhere. I don't want it mounted like that. Do that. You can just be like, I want it flat. Nope, I want it upright. And the cool thing about soft tubing is I could just be like, you know what? Oh, here's the riser cable right here in front of my face.
You mean in the box marked riser cable?
Yeah, that one. And this is the part where I become just like overwhelmed with options. You know, get a PC built by me, don't give me options and then it won't take long. So down, you're gonna get the ticket. I mean, I've built countless computers, some better than others, and I feel overwhelmed with like the options here. Like I can even move the motherboard tray up and down. There's like this whole sort of a spine, and I'll show you once I get some of these pieces out of here. Dude, I didn't even realize that, look at this. Look at the individual channel tracks right here.
Oh,
that's cool.
This pleases my inner OCD.
Holy cow, yeah.
Wow.
That is nice. So you've just got so many options with this, and you can see right here, you can move the motherboard tray up and down here. Look at all the screw options you got, right? So I'm sure if I take those off, I could, it's like if I want more room for a bigger top rad, just whoop, bring it down some. So this is the Hardware Labs GTR, Black Ice GTR. Extremely high density. See, I have to take this front piece off for sure. Otherwise, this will have no chance of fitting up there. But if I'm only going to run one radiator, then I need to. Oh man, I feel like I need to run more thin density than I normally would. I don't know. This one right here, it even says on the literature. This is for people that don't care about silence; they care about performance. That means with how dense these fins are and how thick it is, that means this is going to make a bit of turbulent noise. I got some thinking to do. We'll come back. So this is essentially the same reservoir that they provided me, only they provided me one that was with a D5 and not a DDC, and it's only a 120 instead of a 240, and I think the 120 would be way too small in here, obviously. But because it uses 120 millimeter spacing, and it looks like these holes that they've used for this bracket is also 120 millimeter spacing, and yes, I have to sleeve this. They will line up here. Okay, so as you can see, that fits there pretty good. The holes do not perfectly line up. We had to use the bigger holes. That way we could have some room to kind of get it to all sort of line up. But as you can see, it's in there, it's square. I gotta take it back out so I can sleeve it, but this was just a mock-up. You guys know how much I love to do mock-ups. I'm also doing this much backwards. Many difference from the way I normally do my builds. I started by water cooling, or getting some of the water cooling stuff set up in the case before even putting blocks and stuff on things. And that's because this is the part that I was most uncertain about. Without further ado, let's get this stuff all off the table. And then let's start putting our blocks and stuff on the graphics card, as well as our CPU.
The many faces of Jay.
5950X installed. I'll just put a little dab of KPX on there. A little dab. KPX. Everyone be sure to tell me about how this is the worst thermal paste job you guys have ever seen and how you're unfollowing me. Look, I'm even adding, look, I'm doing the verge method. How's that?
I see the vision.
Get out of my head.
I've been in here for like 10 years, dude. Like, you haven't let me out.
So I've got a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD in my Threadripper OS right now that I'll steal and put in here. These are all too big. That I'll steal and put in here. I'll put the 2 terabyte in here as my main drive when I'm ready to swap it over. I just won't do it right this minute because of the fact that I'm not ready, and I'm still gonna be using that system until this one's done. But I am gonna put this Sabrent 1 terabyte as a standalone game drive in here. Guys, I don't even know if I need it. 2 terabytes should be plenty for what I do plus gaming. Because I've got 1.81 terabytes free of my 2 terabyte. Because I was putting everything actually on my 4 terabyte Western Digital Black spinning drive, which I have in there. Because I'm old school. I like to have big spinning drive for storage when I need it. But all right, why the heck not? We'll just go ahead and put this one in here. Fun part is the graphics card block, because I have not taken one of these apart yet, and I have not watched Steve's video on how to take it apart, because quite honestly, I've been sleeping well lately, so I have no reason to watch his videos.
Oh my god, you guys are so savage to each other. Like.
Oh, I love Steve. I love to make fun of him, don't worry. In fact, the next time I break his records, I should do it on his mod mat. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I love Steve. Steve loves me. That's our public story, and we're sticking to it. There. So this is that carbon pad I was talking about, or carbon graphite or whatever it is. So that's the cooling pad for it. You can see the die on there is pretty big. It's funny how the die is not even square. There's also no markings on it.
Because the markings cover up their thermal ability to
wow.
transfer. The yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Did you just have a stroke?
Yeah. You do it too.
Yeah, but I can at least continue forward in some way. You just go blah, 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 blah. So I don't know if this bracket is included with the water block. I know it's included with the one that we got, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily included if you go and buy this block separately. Normally too, the instructions have a QR code to go to a website to tell you what goes where, because, well, we've got, looks like they might all be the same thickness. Nope, we've got some, it's like 0.5 mil and 1 mil thick pads. And I don't know which go where. All right, I guess we're gonna look it up online to see which go where, because the thickness matters. If you put the thick pad where the thin pad's supposed to go and vice versa, the block won't make good contact with the GPU die. Yeah, there's a lot of thermal pads on this one. A lot of the little semiconductors here, the little microchips and stuff. Microchips and bits and bytes and all that. So these are all the 1 mil pads. And as you can see, got quite a few on there. So I've got to put the block face on. And then what I can do after that is do the back plate, and then some of the pads go on the back plate as well. But I think this is going to turn out pretty nicely, especially Phil hasn't even seen the case and stuff we're going to do yet. It's a little bit sacrilegious, I think, to use KPX on here. However, I'm going to use it. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to apply it just like I do for the LN2 stuff.
Wait, that's it?
Oh. Satisfying. Okay.
Uneven sucks.
Is this the new GeForce? And then, while hitting it on everything on the way in there. I know someone out there is gonna be like, that's gonna kill your performance. No, it's not. Just stop. So this might be the most uncooler master-like thing I think I've ever seen. So this riser card does not mount to this bracket anywhere. One, that yellow is just ugly, so I'm gonna have to paint this little yellow tab so that I don't have to look at it. But once this is snapped in, it's just floating there, and only this screw, because it's a single bracket now, this one screw holding it right here, like as if it were mounting to the I/O, it's just one screw right there, is the only thing holding it in. This can just flop around, and you're supposed to take this thing and push it up against it and tighten it, but it still slides, and it's extremely janky. Extremely disappointed in Cooler Master in this design. This seems like an afterthought. considering all the other riser cards and stuff that they sell, and the riser vertical mounts all secure the riser card. See how I just undid that screw and it all like fell apart? Yeah, this is terrible. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna mod this plate, and we're gonna make it the way it should have been all along. And I figure we might as well end this video with modding something now on a however many hundreds of dollars this case costs. Should never have ended up been the situation, because Cooler Master should have done their diligence on this mount. It's sad because they put so much effort into so much. Oh, come on, these stupid cables. There's so much thought and effort put into this case, and then it's so sad when a company just goes, we don't care about the rest of it. I don't know if this is something that's been revised, because remember we've had this case for like 3 years. They still sell this case, it's still on their website. I don't know if this has changed, but I might be ranting about something they fixed. I have no idea. If they have, then disregard all of this. If they haven't, then everything I say is valid for the case that we've currently got. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna mount the GPU back in here. And look, there's clearly holes where they could have made it mount through there and thread in and all that jazz. But they didn't. So like I was saying, they expect this thing to hold this from sliding in and out, which is fine. I guess it technically could have, but that doesn't help it support the weight at all. That just helps it side to side, not the weight. I know that this little bracket right here should be, this bracket right here is holding the weight, but I would like it to be triangulated, you know, being held in more than one spot, ideally. And now we can drill some holes. All I did was mount it all up into place with the graphics card plugged in and all that, so I can figure out where to mount or where to mark the holes, drill holes, put screw through holes, and then there's gonna be a washer or a nut that's gonna go on the other side. And now look at that, solid.
Benito.
Why didn't they do this to begin with? Then this stupid little bracket isn't even necessary, but you know what, I'll go and put it on there anyway for aesthetics. So now I can mount this back, and it will be
No wobbles.
well, it might sell a little bit of wobbles, it's all sheet metal, right? But look, you can't move in the plate no more. It's mounted, just like it should have been. So now it's in there, and I'm not worried about the riser plate falling out, and I don't even need to put the little slider thing back on, the yellow thing, just taking it off is fine, because now with it mounted down the way it is, screwed down, it cannot come out. So look at that. But we need to get the big picture. So you gotta imagine these sticks of RAM are red, because there's no color in there right now, right? There's nothing that says, I'm an AMD fanboy yet. Stop wobbling. Oh yeah, so now you imagine these ugly fans are gonna get out of here, and then we'll have some RGB fans that will also be red. We've got this red. Clearly we've got this red 24 pin. We've got the red power cables up there, and then we'll have red lighting everywhere, and then this will glow red. So the only red in here is gonna be done through lighting and the cables. So, there it is, part 1 of my ultimate AMD rig. Haven't done one in a while. I think this should be fun. I think it's turning out pretty darn good if I don't say so myself. So we will see you guys with part 2 on this. And keep in mind, by the time you guys see this, we will have already progressed. So any ideas that you're trying to throw at us are gonna be late. But this is the way it's turning out. I'll have a 90 on that. Probably coming out the back, because it's gonna go from there to there, or from there to there, I don't know yet. There you go. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.